As gang violence continues to rock Cape Town, deadly disputes in the taxi industry over the contested M11 route between Mfuleni, Lwandle, Nomzamo, Somerset West and Strand have reignited long-standing hostilities between Cata and Codeta. As a result, the Western Cape High Court has granted the provincial government an urgent interdict until October to implement measures in response to ongoing taxi-related violence and bring stability within the industry.
What the interdict is actually saying is giving us, is actually supporting the efforts from government in making sure that the intimidation stops, and also the interference of people of any mode of transport in our province also stops, and also that to remind them that they need to to adhere to the requirements of their operating licenses. And also what is also encouraging is the fact that within 3 days they need to get back to court, and put a plan and put in play a plan so that show how are they going to implement what the court wants from them. We have to go back to court, and then in court, because we're going to determine whether we're going to make it permanent or not. And while we are waiting for that, we are also following our own processes of the notice that we have published yesterday, where we are saying, we've got an intent to close some of the lanes and routes. And if push comes to shove, we are going to close the rank. And they must come to us and tell us why we should not close it.
The disputed Route M11 is previously shared by both associations, Cata and Codeta, following a fragile peace agreement in June, after violent clashes forced the closure of the Somerset West taxi rank. But less than 2 months later, that peace has collapsed, leaving at least 5 people dead and 9 others wounded this week in Macassar, Philippi East and Strand.
Kulanda ufika kukho umbutho osebenzayo already ube nomsebenzi ufune insebenziswana nalambuto into ekhuthaza ngurhulumente ba imibutho elapha ezothutho zeteksi mayisebenzisane ithi ke ngoku system ufika ngene ngelo hlobo insebenziswane phakathi kwemibutho emibini savumelana sasebenze ezosivumelana eso oyento bangaba singasebenzi ngoku yinto evele noxa bethu uKhata yena usafuna usebenza ngezasivumelana usafuna ezasivumelana besivumelene ngazo siphinde sijoka kakhulu iloophole soze zingabikho kwesivumelwana ezinomhlaba ufumanise kuba ngesenze ngolo hlobo kule ndawo zizinto ezifuna ba kuhlale around the table kuthethiswane kuboniswane not into bangaba kusuke ukuthi hathi nasizibambe eso.
Both associations are blaming each other for the collapse of the peace deal, but while they have yet to resolve their feud, each claims to have a solution.
It was not 50-50 benefit, Nasiphi, because if you can see the members of Codeta, they're taking a flock of people to Somerset in the morning. Then afternoon, they have to share those people in half with Strand, of which, if you can see that the members of Codeta, they don't get nothing from Strand. The solution is that members of Cata, they must work from Strand to Somerset and return their people back to Somerset.
At the coalface of the warring associations are taxi drivers and commuters. They bear the brunt of violence that often spills the blood of innocent people. One driver from Macassar narrowly survived a hit this week.
I saw a man with a paraclav. He's holding a car like this one. Luckily, my window was opened and the other one was opened. So that means the first bullet just through. Then those one were standing by my car, tried to take a cover, but then the other one wouldn't make it because they find where he is. He shot the windscreen, of which my windscreen was tightened, so he wouldn't make it. Then I tried to open the sliding door. I went out, drowned the car. Yeah. So I think they were sure I'm also dead.
Others were not as lucky. On Monday morning before sunrise, gunmen opened fire at the Luzuko taxi rank in Philippi East. 6 adults aged between 35 and 43 were hit. 2 died while 4 were rushed to hospital. Among the survivors is a 47-year-old taxi driver who remains in hospital.
Bandityhilela ifolder yakhe bandibalela iimbumbulu ezisesuswini kuye bathi zi-8 then ethangeni zi-3 then engalweni i-1 bathi ke bandinika ke ithemba loba utata usindile ngoba ndiyambona mos uyaziphefumlela akancediswa ngamishini. Andifuna uxoka ndinoloyiko but andiyazi uba yena uzawuthini na. Mna kwelam icala ndinoloyiko, even nabantwana bakhe banoloyiko ngoba angaphindela phaa. But ke ngoku sinelaa xhala lobana ngaba sizophinde sithini because mna ndisebenza umsebenzi wexeshana.
At the reopened Somerset West taxi rank, operations continue under heavy police guard. But for commuters, daily travel feels like a gamble.
Die taxi violence het nou weer maandag plaasgevind het hier in Somerset West en in Macassar. Ons kon nie eens werk toe gaan nie. Ons kon nie eens taxis gebruik nie, want ons voel nie veilig nie. Want as ons taxis aan gebruik, kan ons sterf, van ons weet nie wanneer hulle gaan skiet nie.
I'm really very disappointed in what happened in this taxi business, because it's really not good. For our people, we have to be in work every day, and then the shootings come and all that nonsense, and then we have to stay at home. We can't even Uber.
The violence is spilling over into businesses.
All my members here, they had lost since last week, for the past 8 days. They have to throw away their fruit and veg that they go buy by the market. They throw it away, it's getting rotten. It did affect a lot of us. We can't feed our children. We can't supply our customers with fresh stuff. And that is why we suffer a lot. Because by the taxi is a place that brings the people.
The SACP says the 2005 Commission of Inquiry into Taxi Violence recommendations are gathering dust and must be urgently implemented.
There are about 3 findings out of that. One such findings is a need for the establishment of a multidisciplinary committee constitutive of the NPA, the police, SARS, as well as the intelligence, as a basis to get to the bottom of the crisis of criminality. That's one. The second one relates to the question of the regulation of the proliferation of unregulated routes and also the enforcement of permits. And thirdly is the abandonment of taxi ranks by the state. And this to us is a problem. And then neither the president nor the premier can account as to why the commission till today has not been implemented. And finally, I think that minibus taxi industry need to accept that, one, they've betrayed their own decisions, the outcomes of their recent peace summit. Secondly, they've forgotten about the impact of the Paarl Belleville tension and its aftermath.
But it's not only taxi violence tearing through Cape Town streets. Gang wars have also escalated, claiming the lives of innocent people, including children. Recently, 2-month-old baby Muhsin Isaacs died after being shot in his Bonteville home. 14-year-old Venrico Petrus was killed in Ravensmead in a suspected mass gang shooting that left 2 people injured.
Saturday, I heard the gunshots, and when I ran out, that stuff on my brain, where's my children? And then somebody came and they say, Mandy, Venrico has been shot, he's dead. And I couldn't believe it. I jumped through the window, and when I came there, Venrico was lying on the ground with 7 bullets in his head. 7 bullets in his head. He's not a child that is a gangster, nothing like that. They messed up my son's whole face. He doesn't even have 2 eyes in it. Oh, he has 1. The whole one side of his brain is gone and his face. It isn't my son. How can people do that?
Speaking at the Interpol African Regional Conference in Cape Town, the acting police minister had a few words for gangs reigning terror in the metro.
But my plan is to be back in Cape Town, I think it's the 2nd week of this month, to pay a dedicated attention to this matter. And if urgent steps are required, further steps, once I've gone through this process, I will have clarity about what can and should be done. It can't be allowed to continue. where you have unruly gangs shooting people in the streets. It's not acceptable. So I can say, if there's a message to those gangs, they must stop, because I do not regard the status quo as acceptable.
For communities, the lived reality is grim. Even schools are forced to educate children what to do when shooting erupts nearby.
You can see our learners even outside are always supervised, because you don't know if you're going to be witnessing a drive-by shooting. So the reality is you're constantly living in fear. It's become such a reality that we have to inculcate things like bullet drills, for example, at our school, so that we don't want to say it's the norm, the gang violence, but we're also trying to teach children to adapt to, if they're in that situation, what do we do so that they're not left there helpless. When we do a bullet siren, we will ring the whistle 3 times. We will blow it. On the 3rd whistle, the learners would know they need to drop immediately to the floor. We close the doors and stuff like that. So the teachers, we try and teach them not to create panic, because obviously the learners are frantic. Because after that, we need to resume and continue with the lesson as per norm.
Some groups are now threatening legal action against the government, saying the state is failing to protect citizens.
From the 1st of August to date, we are looking at roughly about 90 people that has been shot so far. We are going to publish those stats at the end of the month. Majority of these things, because you got to understand, there's also the taxi violence that's also involved in this as well that we've recorded. So we can easily say that at least maybe 70 to 80% of this is gang related or taxi related as it relates to the shootings. We have written to the president, the minister, to either do their work, or we will go to court to compel them, as well as community mobilization.
Crime activists are calling for a state of emergency.
We need a state of emergency or special state of emergency. We need a sort of a legislative process, and a justice system needs to be activated. Special courts, cases needs to be fast-tracked. Convictions need to be very swift. What's happening is the gangs knows that the justice system is complacent. It takes long. We need to have special powers for the police and law enforcement agencies to act much more swiftly. They aren't gangs. They are armed military formations. They are militants. They are enemies of the state, and the way they operate is as if they are armed formations. So we need to treat them differently. Anybody carrying a firearm, taking up a firearm, is taking up resistance to the powers that be, and we need to change the way we look at crime from that perspective, that it is in fact a threat to national security.
Police say the Western Cape's weapon of choice remains guns. Just this week, they confiscated 35 firearms, including Uzis and AK-47 rifles, together with ammunition. For Newzroom Afrika on Channel 405, I'm Nasiphi Same in Cape Town.